Organizations face a critical challenge in acquiring the right talent for AI transformation. Now, this reminds me of the early days of cloud adoption when we advise enterprises on their migration strategies. Back then, we witnessed the same scramble for scarce talent, which led us to advocate strongly for upskilling existing teams rather than relying solely on external hiring. Now, with AI, this challenge is significantly amplified. The unprecedented pace of a business transformation through AI means there simply aren't enough specialists with the relevant domain expertise to meet the demand. Even if such talent were abundant, it would take years to develop it into true subject matter experts within specific industry contexts. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Deolani. Now, as AI reshapes our world faster than we imagined, the question we faced isn't whether we need an AI ready workforce. It is how quickly we can build one that's inclusive, imaginative, and equipped for what's next. And to help us understand the do's and don'ts, today we have Varun Sachdeva, Senior Vice President and Asia Pacific Head, NLB Services. Hi, Varun, how are you doing?
I'm really good, Priya. Thank you for inviting me to this podcast.
Great, it's a pleasure to have you today, on today's episode, Varun. And I think, whenever any new technology, comes into the market and organizations are rushing to deploy a particular technology, I think one of the challenges that they face is what do we need to do with the current team that's there on board? And, if there's anything else that they need to do in terms of upskilling and reskilling. So, I think we are going to talk a lot about it, but let's start by telling our listeners more about NLB Services. It would be great if you could help our listeners understand about the company and its specialization.
Sure, absolutely. So, NLB Services, we are a global technology and a business transformation organization, and we basically help enterprises scale with speed, resilience, and digital intelligence. We started our journey back in 2007, and today we partner with organizations across India and international markets, primarily in North America, EMEA. India is a very strong geography for us, and we basically have integrated portfolio of solutions spanning from AI, data engineering, talent solutions, digital operations, automation, workforce skilling, upskilling, end-to-end GCC build and manage services. And when we talk about talent solutioning, our focus is primarily on talent acquisition, talent management, workforce planning, digital and emerging technology hiring, upskilling and reskilling of existing workforce. And we work very closely with global enterprises, startups, global capability centers, and we also help organizations, in their expansion journey into new geographies. And at NLB, we strongly believe that talent is the real competitive advantage for all the organizations across the globe.
Thank you for that overview, Varun, and it really gives a clear picture of how NLB Services is positioned within the industry, and the unique value it brings to the market. And yes, I agree with you that talent somewhere deep down definitely plays an important role and a competitive advantage in terms of how you are navigating the complexities of digital transformation. Having said that, Varun, we would also like to know more about you. You have expertise and successful implementation of recruitment life cycle and technology tools, and you have earned a special recognition in the field of HR, IT, EdTech, manufacturing, telecom, and life sciences. So, how has your journey been till date, Varun, and what exactly is your role at the company today?
So I have been a talent acquisition HR professional for over 23 years now, and I currently lead the Asia Pacific talent acquisition and workforce strategy for the organization. And my role basically focuses on building and delivering scalable hiring frameworks that basically balance speed, quality, and cost. I work with, as I mentioned earlier, I work with GCCs, multinational clients, to optimize workforce planning and delivery models. And I absolutely believe in the concept of tech and touch, where technology acts as an enabler and the human intelligence focuses on the experience and the engagement part. And I have been focusing on building the entire recruitment ecosystem on this fundamental where all the repetitive tasks should be done using technology, and the recruiters or the leaders should be focusing towards how it can be a good experience for the candidates, how it can be faster, smarter, efficient, and effective solution for the customer. And with our investments in AI, machine learning, and our digital operations, we have been able to build a predictive workforce planning tool, which basically reduces reactive hiring and lowers hiring risk by 30%. And I have been successfully able to implement the workforce planning and talent strategies for multiple clients across the Asia Pacific region.
Thank you for sharing that, Varun, and we are really glad to have a clear picture of your journey and your role. And I must say, quite an impressive and an exciting journey you have had. And I think, with your role given in the picture, I think it actually shapes the direction and the impact of the organization. Now, building on that, let's talk about AI, the elephant in the room. I think the way we talk about AI reveals everything about how we use it and why most organizations are getting it wrong. Now, walk into any office today and you will hear the same language. Let me use this AI tool, or I need to prompt ChatGPT, or we should implement an AI solution. Now, this tool centric mindset is precisely why most AI initiatives fail to transform how teams actually work. They become glorified search engines or fancy autocomplete features. Powerful, definitely. But ultimately, peripheral to the real work of collaboration. So AI is reshaping how work gets done across industries. What fundamentally changes when AI becomes a co-worker rather than just a tool?
Brilliant question. And in my opinion, when AI becomes a coworker, it changes how teams organize work and make decisions. It basically allows humans to focus on judgment, creativity, complex problem solving rather than the routine tasks. So all the repetitive routine tasks are taken care by AI, and the human intelligence can actually focus on the creativity, the innovation, the thoughts which were never a part of the ecosystem earlier. Trust, building trust and transparency. While AI can take care of the job on ground, the heavy data lifting is done by AI, but the execution decisions are actually done using human intelligence. And when we talk about all of this, skills that matter most shift towards interpreting data. So today we need people who basically can understand the AI insights, while the tool can share the data recommendations on real time basis. But we need people who basically can understand the data, can interpret into business outcomes as well. And organizations, when we talk about, they need to reevaluate how they plan their workforce and develop talent when AI is part of the team. And I personally feel that it is just not, AI is an operating system which has to be a part of a day-to-day work profile. It is not an IT infrastructure as such. And that's where a lot of organizations get confused, where to start, what to implement, and how the business outcomes will be defined. And that's where we feel that it's a buzzword, but people don't know what value it brings to the work ecosystem.
Definitely. And I think I really liked your ending statement that, it's important that we evolve from AI just being a buzzword at the workplace and actually being able to evaluate the impact and the effects that it brings to the workplace. And I think it's important that, we change our mindset from AI when we're using AI from being something that we use, that we're just using it to actually we are using it to work alongside. And I think for decades, technology has primarily focused on automation, helping humans do faster or more efficiently. But when AI becomes a co-worker, I think the overall nature of work itself changes, it begins to evolve, and decision making becomes more collaborative. creativity becomes augmented, and the roles start moving away from mere execution towards more strategy, creativity, and judgment. Building on that, AI skills, like you mentioned about AI skills, it has shifted from specialized or technical knowledge to essential capabilities for the broader workforce. Marketing teams use AI assisted content creation, HR professionals leverage AI for talent analysis, and operations managers optimize processes with AI tools. Yet, the skills required for artificial intelligence remain critically underdeveloped. Ensuring organizational and learning agility in the AI era means more than simply providing the latest technologies. Instead, it requires identifying and bridging the critical AI skills gap that can threaten your competitive position. Now, many organizations talk about AI skills, but they eventually at the end of the day they really struggle to define them. So, what does being truly AI ready mean for today's workforce?
So being AI ready means being able to adapt quickly as tools and processes evolve. It requires the willingness to learn continuously and engage with new ways of working, understanding what AI can do and how it complements human decision making is extremely critical, you know. And various studies have actually shown that 30 to 40% of the tasks in most roles can be automated or augmented by AI. So the workforce models must treat AI, as I mentioned earlier, as an operating team, not as an IT infrastructure. Collaboration actually changes when AI is involved. So being able to work alongside AI responsibly and effectively is extremely important. Organizations, in the last couple of years have actually shown that they would value people who are flexible, they can embrace change and translate AI capabilities into real business impact. And that's where the organizations need to define the career growth of employees with continuous learning and the business outcomes so that it becomes a win-win situation for everyone. And that's what truly being AI ready means to me from a workforce perspective. And I think there's a lot of investments organizations are doing to build capabilities towards artificial intelligence, generative AI, and they are doing it to win more business. When there is more business, there is a career growth for everybody involved. So that's why this ecosystem has to work in an assembly fashion where it's a tangible benefit for everyone involved, and people don't take it as an occasional activity. Learning is not an occasional activity anymore. It is a continuous process during the day-to-day work profile.
Very well said, Varun. And I think I really like the distinction you just highlighted here. And I think one of the biggest takeaway from what you said is that AI readiness is not a one-time skill upgrade. It's a continuous learning journey, because when you said that it's important that we're adapting to the changes way of work with new technologies coming in the picture, it is something that we are going to evolve every now and then. And as AI evolves, the roles also evolve, and organizations must rethink how they train, empower, and even evaluate talent. So the conversation really shifts from, do employees know AI tools, to, are they prepared to work in an AI driven environment? And you mentioned, we discussed about little certain aspects, that upskilling and reskilling. Of course, when we're talking about continuous learning, upskilling and reskilling are at the heart of learning development initiatives for organizations. As technological advancements continue to recreate the role of workers across industries, organizations must find ways to ensure their teams are adequately trained for the future. Now, the key characteristic of reskilling at scale is its scope and impact. If it's not about training a few individuals, right? It's about transforming a substantial portion of your workforce. So it definitely requires significant investment in resources, technology, and leadership commitment. So many organizations have struggled with this challenge of reskilling at scale. What models actually work for continuous upskilling in large organizations?
A very good question. In fact, we do this on a regular basis within our organization, and I'm going to quote the examples We'll share what we are doing internally, and I'm sure a lot of other organizations would be following the same path. Reskilling and upskilling is most effective when it is tied directly to business outcomes and not treated as a separate HR initiative. So large organizations, they need to have a blend of structured programs and on the job learning so people can apply new skills while they practice them. Historically, this has been proven that peer learning and mentorship play a very critical role because knowledge transfer happens fastest when employees learn from colleagues who have applied the skills in real situation. Leveraging technology is important, but it works best when it supports human engagement rather than replacing it. So a continuous upskilling or learning requires flexible, modular approaches that allow teams to learn at their own pace while keeping the organization goal aligned. So, if as a leader, I basically focus on measuring the impact. I adjust the programs we have defined internally for different units. I've basically connected the reskilling to career growth of employees so that there is a tangible benefit. That's what I spoke about earlier as well. So ultimately, the model that works makes learning a part of the day-to-day work and not an occasional initiative is something should be adopted, executed, and implemented by organization to see reskilling becoming an actual reality rather than just a word in their manual or the HR playbook.
A very insightful perspective, Varun, and I really like your last statement that it is an actual reality, and many organizations are already shifting to ensure that reskilling is something, it is not a one time initiative. It's becoming a continuous organizational capability. And I think what you're essentially highlighting is a shift from training programs to learning ecosystems where employees can actually, evolve alongside the technology rather than just trying to catch up with it later. Building on that, I would also like to explore how, from a leadership perspectives, what are certain things that even they need to keep in mind when in terms of reskilling or ensuring that we are appropriately evolving alongside the technology. Now, if we talk about leadership, modern leadership is more than just managing teams. It's about inspiring, guiding, and enabling people to perform at their best in a technology driven environment. Now, today, leaders must not only guide their teams but also leverage AI technologies to make informed decisions, optimize processes, and drive innovation. AI is definitely reshaping organizational structures and decision making models. Making tech influency core leadership competency. Now, from a leadership perspective, Varun, how must management styles also evolve when teams are increasingly rely on AI driven insights and automation?
I personally feel that leaders need to shift from directing every decision to guiding interpretation, helping teams understand the context behind AI insights. What I spoke about earlier today, we need people who not only knows the right answers, but they should be able to ask the right questions as well. Decision making becomes more about judgment and prioritization than purely analysis because AI handles the data heavy task. Now nobody's managing the data, it's already there, the information is already all the platforms available in the market. So the management style must focus on developing critical thinking, should basically have curiosity driven mindset, encouraging teams to question assumptions and explore implications. The collaboration dynamics should absolutely be re-evolved to make sure that there is a transparency and clarity grow in importance as people need to trust both the AI outputs and leadership direction. In addition to this, I personally feel that leaders also have to have a balance between speed and caution, knowing when to rely on AI insights and when human discretion is needed. Eventually, the management evolves into a model which is again the right combination of human and machines working together. It's not about the competition; it's about leveraging the technology for more efficiency and effectiveness in the work which is being delivered. So AI amplifies team capabilities without replacing that human accountability.
Absolutely, Varun. And I think we are already witnessing a fundamental shift in the overall leadership as well. I think as AI begins to influence decision making, and we have automation that takes over repetitive tasks and execution. Like you mentioned, leadership is no longer just about directing work, it's about interpreting intelligence, setting context, and empowering teams to make better judgment calls alongside the technology. And I think ultimately the role of leaderships seem to be evolving towards balancing, tech with empathy, ensuring that technology augments human potential rather than replacing human ownership. And that transition, like you mentioned, I think requires a cultural shift as much as a technological one.
That's right.
Building on that thought, organizations everywhere are scrambling to build workforce AI skills, like we mentioned, but some training tactics are far more effective than others. So, which methods work best? Now, according to former Gartner analyst Eric Braun, 90% of leaders are urging team members to experiment with AI. Clearly, top down encouragement is beneficial. But is it enough? A closer look at Braun's research exposes a significant gap. Although most leaders support AI skills development, only 23% actually ensure that people are learning informally. And even more strikingly, only 3% require formal training. So, what are certain practical steps or initial practical steps to build a workforce that can thrive alongside AI? And of course, which also guarantees some success in terms of scaling those first steps.
I think organizations, leaders should make it easy. They should create small and practical experiments where teams can test AI tools in real projects and learn from results. Organizations should also focus on training people to interpret insights, ask questions, make informed decisions rather than just executing tasks. And they should also start by identifying the skills and the mindsets that complement AI, not only the technical capabilities. And as I mentioned earlier, it's all about the way leaders are building the culture within the organization. So continuous learning, curiosity, where employees feel motivated to explore new ways of working, should be adopted, by the organization. Should provide mentorship, peer learning opportunities, so knowledge actually spreads organically across the organization. There should be feedback loops to see how AI and humans interact and adjust training or processes accordingly. Reinforce the idea that thriving alongside AI is about partnership, judgment, adaptability. It's not about replacing human effort. Because the moment there is a fear that AI is going to take away the job a person is doing, that's where people stop to experiment. They don't focus on using the product or the tool in the right fashion. Once that fear is taken away, it's about how the work can be done better using AI or technology, rather than talking about how humans can be replaced using AI. And I'm a strong believer of the fact that this current wave of AI and Gen AI will create a lot of new opportunities, which we have never even heard about. And there will be a lot of skill transformation happening across the level, in the industry, where we will see people learning new capabilities, making faster decisions using data, and people who would be using AI or technology will actually stay ahead, and people who would be just sitting back and looking at all of these changes happening will be the impacted ones. So this is what I tell in all the HR forums and leadership conversations, that we should make our people be comfortable, make it easy for them, and give them the confidence and comfort that using AI will accelerate their performance rather than replacing their job role.
A very lovely thought, Varun. And I think building an AI-ready workforce isn't just about introducing new tools. It's about reshaping the mindset, the culture, and how organizations approach learning itself. And what we are seeing today, that AI is not simply replacing roles. It's just redefining how humans can contribute value. Skills like critical thinking and cross functional collaboration are becoming just as important as technical expertise. And I think you clearly mentioned that leaders should focus on creating an environment where employees feel empowered to experiment with AI rather than be intimidated by it. Because ultimately, technology scales only when people trust it and understand how to work alongside it. Great. And I think that brings me to our last question, Varun, because I think the future isn't about adding more software to our already cluttered digital works spaces. I think it's about expanding teams with capable, reliable, and expert co-workers who happen to be powered by artificial intelligence. So, looking ahead to the next 3 to 5 years, what workforce transformations will separate AI leaders from laggards?
A very good question again. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, AI leaders will distinguish themselves through proactive skill development. Leaders who would be investing in continuous learning for employees to adapt to AI advancements will definitely stand apart. Data-driven decision making, leveraging AI analytics for strategic insights and agile responses, again, would have a differentiating factor. Innovation and creative culture, fostering an environment that encourages experimentation and adoption of new technologies. Collaborative workflows, which basically integrate AI into teams for enhanced collaboration and efficiency. And on top of all of this, when we talk about ethical AI and data practices, so leaders who would be prioritizing transparency, trust, fairness in AI deployment to build compliances, I think they will definitely stand apart, will be building the future workforces and will be leading from the front, is what I have in perspective about the change we are experiencing right now.
Definitely. And I think the future of work is not about adding more apps, it's about adding more co-workers powered by AI. And I think the shift from tools to teammates represents more than a marketing distinction. It's a fundamental reimagining of how artificial intelligence integrates into human organizations. And when we stop thinking about AI as something we use and start thinking about it as someone we work with, we unlock collaboration patterns that are more natural, powerful, and more sustainable than anything a tool based approach can offer. Well, thank you so much, Varun, for taking all the time and effort to be on our podcast today and helping us understand that the question isn't whether AI will transform how we work, it's whether we will embrace that transformation by expanding our definition of teamwork itself. The organizations that will do find themselves not just more efficient, but more capable of tackling challenges that neither humans nor AI could handle alone. Thank you so much, Varun, for your insights. It was lovely chatting with you.
Thank you, Priya.
Great. So this is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion around the new era of co-workers and how you can get started to work with your new teammates. Meanwhile, you can listen all our previous episodes on Spotify and other leading platforms. Stay tuned for our upcoming podcast. Thank you.